right, welcome back to All Hitches, Nova Football Podcast, America's favorite Nova Football Podcast. How's it going there, fellas? Mesa, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. You know, I'm getting ready for the school year. By the time this one comes out, I think it'll be. I think we'll be our first day as a teacher reporting back. So yeah, it's time to actually start earning our money again, right? Quit preloading on the taxpayers' dollar as we get accused of all the time.
Summer's over. Well, not really, but for us at least. And welcoming back Carl Frederick from Prep Red Zone. Carl, how's it going, buddy?
What's going on, gentlemen? Thanks for having me back on. Like we said, it's football eve. You know, while you guys are getting ready for school, I'm trying to see how many games I can cover, just preseason and regular season. I'm counting them out. I got my list. I'm ready to go.
Out of curiosity, where do you plan? What scrimmages are you going to go to?
So for the scrimmages, I got my list up now. I want to go because the Battlefield at Madison, August 15th.
Oh.
That two of the best teams starting off the season with a scrimmage like that. That looks like a lot of fun. Colgan at Langley, August 16th. About that. Forest Park will welcome Colonial Forge, August 15th. Ooh. That's right. I live over here in Lorton. That's right by my apartment. There's Louisa versus Freedom Woodbridge. That's August 17th. In the morning, that's again 15 minutes from my place. I was going to go to the Woodson scrimmage, but then I was informed that may be in a different direction. So, I got a lot of things going on. Looking forward to it.
Tell you what, that Battlefield Madison scrimmage, that's no holds barred right there. That's Zeus versus, versus Hulk Hogan.
and they started right off the gate. It's a preseason game. I wonder why they didn't, try. I hope they get that into the regular season, because that would draw a huge crowd from Madison. Whatever, I'll be there. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, that's going to be great.
Well, I think those two programs in particular, they are planning for bigger things, and I think they're trying to get the best look they can during the preseason. They're not backing down from anybody, and I think that's going to be really advantageous for them to take on somebody to give them a look, as we like to say in coaching.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, gentlemen, we're going to get right to it today. We're taking a little trip down Cedar Run.
Going west from you, right? We're going west. Go west, young man.
Yes, we are going west.
Little manifest destiny for us. We're gonna claim these lands as our own.
Something like that. The old history teacher.
The history teacher in me. So we are starting with Osbourn Park. Last year, Osbourn Park went 1-9. Big win to start the season. 61-0. Anytime you score 61 in the game, it's pretty big. And then they proceeded from there just to really struggle. They really struggled. They had some pretty tough games they played. The 27-0 game against Hilton, from what looks like was nip and tuck for a little while through there. Then they played a really tough Herndon team. Then Colgan, who's on the rise. Gainesville, we know, excellent football team. Another team on the rise, Patriot. Then Freedom Woodbridge, who was the defending state champion. Just look at that what they're playing out there. Gainesville, Patriot, Freedom from last year, Battlefield.
Tough stretch, man. Tough stretch.
Especially when you are a program that's trying to find an identity. I think it's a really tough thing to go. And then they end the season with Uni Reed, and then the last game against Osbourn. They've been struggling for a little while. If you look back at the stats, they haven't had a winning season, or at least a season above 500 since 2012. So they're a program that's struggling a little bit right now. Sometimes it's hard to dig yourself out of that hold, just trying to find the right mix. You look as far as coaching goes, and it also comes from not having any kind of consistency in coaching. They've only had a coach do back-to-back seasons once since 2018. Then they had a coach for about 4 years. but they've really never had a coach kind of stick around. And I think when you're a program that's trying to build something, it makes it really difficult when you have a new voice come out all the time, to try to build a program. I think when your program is struggling, you need somebody, a steady hand on the wheel for a little time to kind of ride through and build an identity. And it can make it relatively difficult.
Well, I think Coach Holland is the guy. I think this could be the guy that's going to take where they need to go. I mean, he kind of, we reached out to him and kind of got back to us. A couple things he made clear. One, us versus us. That's the mantra going into the season. Yeah. He's not worried about battlefield and these heavyweights. Take care of home first. Worry about them, right? Things take care of themselves. Each guy's got take care of, do his job, trust in each other. He's got to build the foundations, in that locker room first, and then kind of worry about the next things.
Well, I think his hire was early in January, and he started the training regimen then, which is big, right? I mean, especially when you're a transitioning program, the offseason is huge to try to make those incremental gains. Carl, so can you tell us anything a little about some of the players they have coming out of there? Have you heard anything about them?
Yeah. I actually, and Coach Holland, I talked to him a couple times. I did a team preview of them on the Yellow Jackets about a couple weeks ago, and I talked to him at the Skyline 7-on-7, and he knows the tall task at hand. I mean, that's a lot. Like you reading off those stats they've had back, they haven't had a coach stick around more than 2 years since 2018. That's a lot for any program to go through. So it's just about, and like he said to you guys, it's about it's us versus us. They got to find their own identity first. And just looking at them and look at how the kids were responding to him with his off-season program and at the 7-on-7, I think they were really starting to buy in and realizing, like Coach said, that Coach Holland is in it for the long haul. He's got a young little kid that and they got their family out there. I think he's in it for the long haul. In terms of players, Osbourn Park, they graduated a good amount of seniors from, let's face it, and that wasn't a really competitive group, but they got some nice pieces coming back. At quarterback, they should have a kid named Arian Patel, good sized kid, about 160 pounds, a nice dual threat passer, can throw the ball a little bit around, and they got some receivers for him to kick it around with. He'll be a rising junior. Ben Kuhn is the transfer Coach Holland wanted me to talk about. He transferred in from Brentsville. He was a good program there, as you guys know, with Brentsville, and he saw a lot of varsity time but could never crack the starting lineup. He was a good special teams player for them. He's going to play probably a little wide receiver for Coach Holland, but he's also going to thrive at linebacker and possibly safety for the Yellow Jackets defensively. Nehemiah Price, he was a kid. He made a few plays in the 7-on-7 scrimmage I saw. So, a little undersized at 5'5", 145 pounds, but he's a tough kid. He's going to play a little bit of outside linebacker and corner for them as a junior. He played a lot as a sophomore. He should be one of the team leaders in tackles this year. He's a tough little bugger. He reminds me of like an Antoine Winfield type. He'll just come up and pop you. He won't miss a tackle. You guys, I know you remember Antoine Winfield, all those years. David Fitzgerald's a nice middle linebacker. He played a lot, as a sophomore and as a junior. He's really good against the run, good in his pass coverage skills. He's 5'11", 210 pounds. Coach Holland is really counting on him for his leadership standpoint. In terms of a playmaker, they have a really nice kid, one of our top 100 ranked athletes in prep red zone for the class of 2026. His name is Daron Dankwa. He, I don't have the size for him yet, but I know Coach Holland was talking about him a lot. He's going to play a lot of receiver on offense. They love to run the jet sweeps in this new offense. He runs a sub 4.6 40. So if anybody's going to be a playmaker for the Yellow Jackets team, it's going to be Dankwa.
Well, there's one guy I like a lot here, Ratillo Argueta Alvarez. All right, this guy, might give Canelo Alvarez a run for his money. I'll tell you what, this guy's putting up almost 350 pounds in bench.
Okay.
Strong as an ox. He's a senior this year. Going to be a senior.
Okay.
He's kind of D-line, O-line, kind of both sides of the ball. But I mean, he's deadlifting 425. He's squatting almost 500 pounds. The guy's an animal.
Yeah. I think it's good for Coach Holland that he has some seniors in the building that they haven't really had a lot of success, but they bought into him. I think they recognize that Coach Holland's in it for the long haul. But he also had some nice pieces in both his sophomore and his junior class. I mean, speaking of size, Coach, there's center Abner Marina. I may be pronouncing that wrong. He is 6'3", 300 pounds. He is a load, and he'll line up at center for them. Yeah, he's a big boy. He's working on his footwork. He's really coming along. He started as a sophomore, but yeah, he's got the size you're looking for.
Man, that's impressive. You get some of these guys going both ways. I mean, that's some solid beef up front. Now, they gave up almost 500 points, all right, last year, almost 500 points. But if they can, turn some of that around with some of these guys we're talking about, all of a sudden, it could be a quick turnaround.
Well, I think with consistency in the coaching, right? I mean, Carl was talking about having a coach who's kind of dedicated to the long haul. You got to give him time. You're trying to build a program. I think that it's really important community-wise to support him and give him the time he needs to kind of get his program installed. And the Cedar Run District is really good, right? I mean, we're going to get the top three teams. But you're talking about three of the better teams in the state in that three teams that for sure are fighting for the region. As we speak, I think when we get to that point, we're going to talk about the amount of talent they have there. So I think to have a program that needs some nurturing, you got to give that coach some time. And it sounds like he has some pieces. It sounds like he's in it for the long haul.
All right, we are heading Unity Reed. Let me tell you something about Unity Reed. All right, that was a powerhouse, Mason. Now you were not in Virginia. You were back in you were in New Mexico. You were in Long Beach. Eating In-N-Out hamburgers and that kind of thing. But I'll tell you what, and Carl can tell you. I mean, Unity Reed was a freaking power for a long time. There's been some great players that have come out of Unity Reed.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, I mean, they are 2 years removed from a playoff win. So they had 4 straight playoffs before they struggled last season, and then they missed the playoffs for about 3 years, and then just a ton of years in the playoffs. So I mean, my guess is just based off the numbers that this is an aberration, right? I mean, I think, and also if you look at their scores, so while they did finish 2-8, they lose 21-13 to a Hilton team. They lose 16-15 to Osbourn.
Yep.
They lose 7-6 to Freedom South Riding. I mean, it's 3 games, right? 3 games, and now they are a 500 football team.
Yeah, it's a good point.
They're right there, but. Looking at their schedule, you can infer that just a couple breaks here, a couple breaks there, and they're probably where they should be. They are in a tough division with Battlefield and with Gainesville and Patriot, and they struggle against those teams. But it looks like those other teams, they're right in it with them. And so, Carl, I mean, what do you know about them? What have you heard about
Yeah, so, I mean, like what you're saying, I mean, Unity Reed was very competitive last year. The record's a bit deceiving, and they got better as the year went on. And a lot of their games, too, they lost. They weren't really getting blown out. I watched them week 1 against Garfield, who was, clearly a better team, and that was a game until the fourth quarter. They're a tough, competitive group. Unfortunately, they've been bitten pretty bad by the transfer bug this past offseason. Otherwise, I would, really be buying Unity Reed's playoff chances, to be honest with you. But Marcus Ferguson, their big-time running back, he announced this past spring he's transferring to St. Michael's, the Archangel. I'll miss covering him. He's a great kid, great football player for them. Their leading rusher for I believe, the last 3 seasons. And just recently, their big-time linebacker, junior to be Masayu Kanu, one of the top linebackers in the state. He has offers from Central Michigan, I believe Marshall as well. He transferred to Patriot. So it's tough sledding right now, Unity Reed, but they still have some nice pieces that played a lot last year and some starters that, have some accolades too coming back, including outside linebacker. They have a rising junior in Adam Saeed. I might be pronouncing his last name wrong. But he's 6 foot, 170 pounds. He's back healthy. He'll play on the outside for them. He's a nice-looking football player. Quarterback is back. Moses Perez. He started as a junior. Throws a nice deep ball, very accurate on the run. On the offensive and defensive line, a big-time prospect out of their sophomore class is 6'1", 270-pound, soon-to-be sophomore, Ian Irvin. He is a big dude. He'll set the edge.
Wow.
For Unity Reed. They should. I mean, it's unfortunate about the transfers because they, I would have bought their playoff chances, but they still, they play well for Coach Walker. They battle. They will this year. I could expect them if it's not around 500, close to that, and it's not going to be like a yellow jacket situation when they're losing every game 55-0. They're not. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I think traditionally, right? They have good tradition there. I think it is tough with the transfers, unfortunately. And new players are out there. Stick it out. Stick it out at your school. You have a lot of people in your ear telling you that you can get better looks, and that's just not the case. In the days of the internet now, huddles and camps, so there are ways to get you seen. So, and the grass is always not greener on the other side. I will make that warning to kids who transfer, because I've seen it happen a lot of times where they go and it's just not the experience they thought they were going to get.
So true.
With the school, with the tradition of Unity Reed. I lost it for a second, but with that kind of tradition, I think that sticking it out sometimes is a better choice. And the guys who did stick it out, hopefully I think it'll pay off for them.
You were having a thing about your fantasy draft coming up. You were about to say Jordan Reed. I could see where you're going, buddy. And if you draft Jordan Reed, you're in trouble.
I was thinking doesn't he work for ESPN now, or does he still play?
No, he's not. That's why that makes us in trouble in fantasy.
I was thinking Ed Reed is what I was thinking of.
Well,
that's funny.
We're going to the other Osbourn. We got two Osbourn. We got Osbourn Park. And we got the other Osbourn, Norman Osbourn, or whoever is that the Green Goblin? Mesa, you're the comic guy.
It is. Norman Osbourn is the Green Goblin, and then his son Harry Osbourn,
Harry Osbourn
takes on the mantle of the Green Goblin.
Yes, sir. There you go. I knew you'd know that. Well, Osbourn, what do you got for us here, Mesa? What do you got?
Osbourn 2-8 last year, but very similar to what we had before with Unity Reed, a 6-0 game to Freedom South Riding. Let's see, a 20-8 game against Gainesville. I mean,
a
20-8 game against Gainesville, kind of says where they're at. If you play a team like that, 20-8, 2-8 is probably not your record. But they were up and down as well. If you look at traditionally,
that's a good point though. That's an impressive loss, right? I mean, that's a really good Gainesville team.
They were bit bad by the injury bug last year. I am buying the Eagles stock for 2024. Okay. But keep going. You were going through the history.
Yeah. So 2 years ago, they should have been 5-5, but they lost an overtime game to Gainesville. So it looks like they've got something on Gainesville. They've kind of figured something out with them. Gainesville being pretty. And then 3 years ago they won a playoff game. They beat Garfield, and then they got beat by Battlefield. So it looks like their record again is deceiving. If you kind of look at the scores, look at who they played, and then the fact that they played a really good Gainesville team really tight. So you see you're buying their stock. What do you like about them?
One kid that I love is Keon Maestas. He was the kid I was telling you guys about. He got hurt early in his sophomore year. He's receiver / defensive back. He's back healthy. He could lead the conference in punt and kickoff returns. He's about 5'8", 155 pounds. He already has an old offer from Old Dominion. He's going to be one of their cattle horses offensively. And honestly, guys, what? There's another team at the 7-on-7 scrimmage, or the 7-on-7 event at Skyline High School, that really was just having fun, and you could tell they're buying in, and they were well represented, and they acquitted themselves well on the afternoon. It was a different vibe. Like I got with the Eagles. Like they knew last year they were decimated by injuries, and that wasn't really showing, or indicative of their record. So I got the vibe that they're going to make a run this year. They very positive. They were very confident throughout that whole afternoon. They got some other pieces. Edward Hogan, who played a lot last year. A slot back, outside linebacker. He's about 5'7", but a tough 5'7" and 170 pounds. He'll come up and hit you, and he'll get a lot of carries in their offense. Caden Thornton is a big-time receiver that they didn't have last year. He's back healthy as a junior. He's 6'10", 165 pounds. Kid's going to catch a lot of passes this year at Osbourn. He's going to play corner too. They got a lot of skill positions. Caleb Smoot's another nice player. He's actually a soon-to-be freshman, 5'10", 160 pounds. He'll play receiver and defensive back. So they got a lot of skill position. Key for them will be what can they handle the big guys up front from Garfield and Patriot and Battlefield who are producing big-time defensive linemen. That'll be the key for Osbourn.
Yeah, I mean, I think I could see it. I mean, I just kind of followed them from afar. Coach Mike is doing a good job over there, kind of putting things together.
Yeah, I mean, I watched them last year in a game when I was covering them against Hilton, and Hilton, took it to them pretty good, and they were just, it was a lifeless sideline. They weren't into it, and then I turned around a couple weeks ago at Skyline. The kids are high five and they're jumping around, they're talking trash. They clearly had a new swagger about them, and that's the type of swagger I can buy into. I think Osbourn's in for a nice turnaround season.
I mean, that's a culture change, right? I mean, trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
And so much of your success can come from just the enthusiasm of the kids. If you got kids who are in it, they're locked in, they're excited about being there. They're not treating it like a job, but they're actually having fun. Makes it fun, and this should be fun. I mean, in reality, if you're playing football, you should have fun doing it. You shouldn't dread doing these kind of things, because I think we talked before about the fact that 90% of high school football players, this is it. Once that clock hits zero your senior year, you are more than likely never going to put on that helmet again. And so, just being able to find the joy in that, I think sometimes can help turn around a program.
Yeah, I think it says a lot. Just you talking about at that 7-on-7 and seeing them just kind of having a good time and playing loose. That's a good sign for what's to come in the next couple of weeks, I think.
I agree.
All right, we're heading to Freedom. It's kind of the weird one here, right? I think, Coach Mesa, you and I were talking about this, and I don't know when they started putting these conferences together and all that stuff. You got this Loudon team, right, over in South Riding, Freedom South Riding, kind of in the middle of all these different Prince William teams. So kind of an interesting, the way they align that up.
And they're the only Freedom. They're the only Freedom team. They're the only Loudon team.
Yeah, right.
Who's in a 6A.
Right.
So last year, 3-7, really interesting. So hats off to them. They beat Osbourn 6-0. They beat Union Reed 7-6. I mean, those are tight games. I mean, those are the kind of games where after the game you are popping some Tums and
wow, and
sweating like crazy, because those games are just at any point those can break open. So hats off to those kids fighting through there. They struggled in quite a bit of the other games. A 21-7 game 2 against Potomac Falls. A 2-score game, 21-7 seems like things were relatively close. The thing about Freedom is, from what I've saw, what I've been able to find, they've never had a winning season in the history of their school. So just trying to build a culture, and if you go back to just look at coaching wise, just you have a couple of coaches stick around 3 years. In fact, I think that's the longest you have any coach stick around is for 3 years, and it's just really hard to build a program that way. When you're having this constant turnover. I mean, you figure no freshman has ever had the same coach when they got their senior year. When you're talking about the history of their school, which makes it difficult. But it looks like they're building something over there. So have you heard anything about players over there at Freedom at all, Carl?
Yeah. I think they're on the right track as well too under Coach Mayo. There's some players that they have coming back. I know they got some size up front. A big guy right off the gate, Ahmed Tooney. He is a 6'4", rising senior, 215 pounds. He's going to play a lot of defensive end. He's going to be on the offensive line for the South Riding. They're the Eagles too. How many teams in this conference mascots are the Eagles, by the way? I'm just noticing that, by the way. No, that's random fact. Brett Triplett is back at quarterback. He's 5'10", 140 pounds. rising senior. He played a lot last year. Josh Hart is a playmaker at receiver. I remember watching his tape. He's a good one. He's got good hands, good separation. 6'1". He's a rising sophomore. He's going to play a lot for them too. Joshua Johnson's a nice player for them on the outside, a receiver and corner, 5'10", 155 pounds. A lot of young kids. It's a really young team.
Yeah.
In Freedom. You don't see a ton of seniors on this list. Landon Ackley's a good offensive lineman. He's a rising senior at 6 foot, 200 pounds. But yeah, they're still building out there over in, is it Ashburn, Loudoun County, where they're located?
It's South Riding. It's almost like it's right past Chantilly.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I thought they were in between Patriot and Light Ridge. I thought like that's where they're Light Ridge and
John Champ.
John Champ. That
John
was
Champ. And they played John Champ. There's probably a little bit of a rivalry there.
Now I know Carl was talking about transfers, and I don't know Loudoun's rules, but if it's an open district like that, it's really tough when you have two let's. So John Champ, really good in football. I don't know if you've been to Light Ridge's campus, but it is amazing. It is. I mean, they've got all the bells and whistles, and I think when you're trying to compete with those two things, if you're a parent, I think all three of us are all parents. If you have a chance for your kid to go and you go to see Light Ridge's amazing facilities, you're like, this is where I want my kid to go. John Champ being a football tradition. If you're a football and if it's an open district, and I'm not sure if it is, I think it might be. I think it might be an open district like Prince William, and you have a choice to go somewhere. Unfortunately, that's where you may end up going.
Well, the one thing about Loudoun, as a lifer here in Northern Virginia, I always make the joke and say, Loudoun it's new, right? I mean, overall, not too long ago. I mean, you didn't venture past Tyson's Corner, down Route 7. I didn't. You get to the dealerships on Route 7, and that was it. You hit the brakes, slam on the brakes. You ain't going any further. So over the last 20 years or so, 25 years, that whole area, it's not just, cow farms anymore. Now you got freaking, there's schools, there's tech, all that stuff is out there. And those schools are brand new. They're really nice. Yeah. And it's hard to compete with that.
Right.
So much beauty out there. So much beauty in terms of like traveling. Isn't Amazon out there now too?
No, Amazon is it's in Alexandria, right? That's where they're building it.
Crystal City, I
I
thought.
was thinking.
What do I know?
No, I was thinking. You're right. I don't know anything. So
I wish I knew more about Amazon, because if it did, that means I'd probably own some stock, but I don't own any stock in them. So,
but I think we're all in agreement, right? That looks like Freedom's pushing themselves in the right direction, right? I mean, it looks like they're moving.
Yeah. Noah Barnhill, the other guy, coach, you mentioned him too.
I like Noah Barnhill.
Yeah,
he's the real deal, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a beast up front, especially at defensive tackle. So they got some size up front. They're not, that's where if they can control the clock, ground and pound, they can be competitive in this district.
And one thing I'll say about them before we move on, the lacrosse world, they've actually been really good the last couple of years, like really, really good. And which tells you, they got good athletes over there. And now, maybe some weren't coming up football or whatever. You see that sometimes. They start getting some of those kids, some of those, lacrosse kids and all that coming to play football. That's going to help the program.
Absolutely.
All right. So we are heading up, gentlemen. We're heading up to Gainesville, or out or up or sideways. But whichever way it is, Gainesville's looking freaking good. That's a new program. And tell us what they've done in a short amount of time here, Mesa.
So last year was almost like their first official varsity season. They played a varsity season before, but that was with younger kids. I think that. But last year they went 8-2. They came out the gate. They came out the gates hot. Yeah. I mean, they beat Potomac, then they beat Garfield. The really close game against Garfield, a 2-touchdown game against Woodbridge. They beat up on Robinson, Osbourn, and then they came across the two heavyweights in their district, and they end up losing to them. And then they play the close one against Osbourn, and then they get some big wins against Union Reed, and then they lose against a really good Colonial Forge team. There's a lot to talk about their history, right? I mean, because the year before it was their first varsity season. They come out, they're 8-2. They had a really good running back, and I'm sure Carl will talk a little more about him. That ended up getting hurt on early in the season with Coben Smith. But they have eight stars back on defense, and last year when I was calling the defense, I can't tell you how invaluable it is to have 8 guys who have played together. Just because communication is so key on defense, to know where guys are going to be, to have trust in each other. They've been running the system with the same coaching staff for a while. They've got a really good quarterback coming in, and Carl will elaborate on this some more. And Colton Kilmer looks like he's really getting back as well. But last year, coaching the defense and saying this, having 8 starters come back on defense it's just really big. To be able to just roll those guys out there again and have them roll in there. So I'm sure they got a lot of players to talk about, Carl. So, I mean, who are some guys that you like a lot? Who's some guys that might be flying underneath the radar?
No, absolutely. Yeah, Gainesville, and you guys are right there. Coach Broughton's building something special over there in Gainesville. He has, he told me he has over 100 kids out at his summer workouts. I'd be curious to see how their numbers are looking for the preseason ball. But yeah, they have, you alluded to it, they got studs all over. It was one of the longer team preview articles I had to do because there were so many kids to cover for the Prep Red Zone site. Starting off with, Coben Smith, he's the running back. He's the big-time star that got hurt early last year. He'll be a Division I football player. He already has 7 Division I offers, including from VMI and Syracuse. He's back healthy. He ran track this past spring. He's a track and field star. Like we talked about yesterday, guys, with this class of running backs for 2025 in Northern Virginia alone is really special, and he's just another one. He'll be, a Division I back, and he'll be one of the league leaders in rushing this year. He's one of the fastest kids in the league.
Wow.
At quarterback, also back, and a potential Division I AA kid is Colton Kilmer. He took over early last year, and he's really just taken the starting role and run with it. Now, he's been excellent. He was, first team all district last year. He's been making his way around all the summer camps, and he's getting a lot of attention. I expect him to play, the FCS level. He's going to lead. He runs the show there. He's a big kid at 6'3", 215 pounds. He's our 89th ranked athlete, or 89th ranked prospect in the class of 2025. But more Division I kids that are already committed. Defensive end / defensive tackle Jeremy Stitz, he's committed to Davidson. He just did that a couple of weeks ago. He's a big time force up the middle and off the edge too. He had 9.5 sacks last year. And with all the talent they have coming in and coming back defensively, there's no reason he can't top that. But 9.5 sacks last year. It's really, it's how many years has he been playing football with the new program out there? Who knows? That's right. How impressive that number is. But yeah, the list goes on. Greg Davidson is a top-ranked tight end. He's 6'5", 205 pounds. He quite frankly, with all the talent they have out there, Davidson's a kid that can easily get overlooked, but he shouldn't. He's 6'5" and runs like a deer, really good route runner. Tight end. He should get a lot of more opportunities this year because they did graduate a couple of seniors at wide receiver. But speaking, Gainesville really just hammers you up front. They have hit in the 2026 class. Reed Hobbs is one of the top-ranked kids in the entire class. He played guard for them last year. He's already getting a lot of Division I colleges asking about him. He looks like a Power 5 football player on tape, Reed Hobbs. He's the real deal. And say again?
No, I'm sorry. I'm impressed. Yeah. Those are sounds of a man who's impressed by what he's hearing.
Oh, yeah. No, the list goes. Gainesville's up there in terms of the top teams in Northern Virginia. I'm really convinced they're right up there with Lake Braddock and Battlefield when you look at all over. Adam Rodriguez is a big-time linebacker in their 2026 class. He has a 4.2 GPA. Started as a sophomore. This kid is all over the field, a sideline to sideline linebacker. Jack Smoot, another Division I commit. He runs the offensive line. He's going to Central Michigan. He had offers from all over the country. Smoot is 6'4", 280 pounds, just a beast up front. And, 280 pounds of muscle too, guys. When you talk about offensive linemen, obviously, me being myself 1-2 back in high school, you carry a little bit of weight, but like when you're 280 pounds and a kid like Jackson, a lot of that is muscle. That's not baby fat. But then, in terms of newcomers too, because, I told you they graduated a couple of receivers. Stepping in the role is one kid named Isaiah Dugan. He'll be a junior this year. The kid is 6'3", 185 pounds, runs about a 4.5 40. He already has an offer from Marshall, and he's barely played. That's how, when you barely played and you have an offer from a school like that, they know something special. Channing Hyde is a safety. He can play a little bit of corner. He's a rising junior, 5'10", 175 pounds, a tough, he can probably play outside linebacker too. Jackson Robles, a nice kid from their sophomore class. He's going to play a little bit of safety and linebacker for Coach Bruce's defense. But again, they return 8 starters. So even the guys he has coming in that could play at a lot of other schools, they may be riding the pine for a year or two with the amount of kids they have coming in.
Tell me about a guy named Surratt Gill. I've heard some things about him.
Surratt Gill, there's a list of newcomers.
Apparently he was ineligible last year, but they like him. He's fast, physical.
Yeah, they have Surratt Gill, Liam Kim, Vincent Hill. They have a bunch of newcomers that either didn't play or they had situations where being a new program, it's not always easy getting kids transition there and getting them eligible too. So there's a couple guys they have coming back into the program that should make an impact. Surratt Gill is another one, but they're loaded. Gainesville's loaded, and it's even more impressive considering that they've only been a varsity program for a couple of seasons.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And there's not a whole lot of, Mesa's the stat master over there, and the stats are limited here as far as looking back on them and trying to see, okay, what's the history like? But it's going to, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to 2 games, right? It comes down to every game, but you got Battlefield and you got Patriot, right? And they were handled last year. 42-0 Battlefield, 56-26. But these kids are a year older now.
Yeah.
It's going to be really interesting. Those are going to be some good games. Those 3 going at it.
Yeah, very top.
TV.
Very top-heavy division. Very top-heavy division.
Oh man,
yeah.
What was it you said earlier? The what's the difference between the 3rd team and the 4th team?
3 games between 3 and 4. 3 games. That's it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, Patriot. The other thing I noticed about Patriot, looking at their season stats, comparing, because they're looking at Patriot and they're looking at Battlefield, right? That's kind of who they got their eyes set on, and they allowed almost 100 more points than Patriot.
Well, I think it came from those 2 games, though. It came from those 2 games because
that's true, right? It did come in those 2 games.
It came from those 2 games,
right? You're right. That's about 100 points. But they got to figure that out, and they have the talent to do it.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Sounds like they're building something pretty good over there.
Can't wait. All right, so we're going to go to one notch above them. We're going to go to Patriot.
So Patriot last year finished out their season 6-4. They opened with Westfield, which is just not an easy task, right? You're talking about a perennial power that they opened up with. Then they play a district game with Freedom South Riding, but then they turn around and play Colonial Forge. They actually play 2 of the better teams in Stafford County, in Colonial Forge and Mountain View, and both those games are 1-score games.
Yeah,
you got to give them a lot of credit, right? They're not taking any games off, right? They're taking on the big games. They end up towards the end of the season at game 9, beating a pretty talented Garfield team 55-7, which makes it pretty impressive.
Well, a week later they go to the Battlefield and almost pull the upset off there.
Yeah, but most of their wins are big time wins. Their close games are losses, but the teams they're close game they're losing to are really quality opponents, right? In the off season, they said they had a lot of really good significant gains in the weight room. And when you're looking up at Battlefield, right, that's who they're looking up at right now. Just based on last year's schedule, that's who they're looking up at. They did rally after a 1-3 start, after a 1-2 start last year as well. They've got a really tough schedule. They really like their quarterback, Tyler Newton, 6'4", 200 pounds. I mean, that's a big kid. And then another big back. I don't know where all these big backs are coming from. 6 foot, 200 pounds. I remember back with 6 foot, 200 pounds was an NFL back. I mean, that's how old I am. I mean, back in the day, man, we used to have the 160-pound backs, and we're like, oh, we got a guy. So it's not the case anymore. And what's really tough for them was, they lose a really close one to Battlefield, and then have to play them again. And I think that's a really difficult thing. I mean, essentially they played 8 quarters against Battlefield to close out their season. And we're going to get to them in a minute. And Battlefield's a pretty talented football team. So they did like that. Again, they felt like they had a really good offseason. That looks like offensively that they've got some pieces. What else do they have over there at Patriot there?
Yeah, and going back to you guys saying Patriot, I covered their demolishing of Garfield week 9 for Inside Nova, 55-7. I remember talking with Coach Finnerty after the game, and he talked about their slow start. It seemed like it was by design. He wanted his Pioneer squad to take on all the big dogs and keep on moving, and they did, and they responded really well. They finished the season strong. I mean, they had tough back-to-back losses to Powerhouse Battlefield, but that's a rivalry that's going to carry on for the next 10 years. But they have studs coming back, and when you talk about big-time prospects for Patriot, you have to start with Jackson McCarter. He is their home run hitter, one of the fastest players in the state. He's the type of kid, he can just take it. He just needs a little bit of a crease, and he's gone. I watched him take a kickoff back last year. I watched him take the opening play, 70 yards straight to pay dirt. He's the real deal. He's committed to Villanova. He's committed to them about 2 weeks ago. But McCarter is a stud. 5'11".
Another Northern Division. Another Northern Virginia guy, running back going to Villanova, following what's Centerville?
Ragland. Sorry,
Isaiah Ragland. That was
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But in terms of what's gonna might hurt Patriot? They were big up front, and they graduated a good portion of the offensive line, and they're a run first team. It's McCarter's show offensively, but they have a lot of talent around him. Tyler Knutson, you guys talked about, he is an FCS level quarterback. I've watched him throw. He came to our showcase for Prep Red Zone back in the spring. He has a lot of Division I schools calling for him. He's in for a big year. I expect Patriot to open up the passing game more too, kind of get creative with, graduating some big-time offensive linemen. But they do have some linemen coming back, including Salfadine Hamad. He's a senior center, 6'3", 250 pounds, so that's a nice piece to have back. And they got some other pieces on the outside. Mathieu Canoe, in terms of, he's the guy that I was telling you guys about from Unity Reed that transferred in. He's going to play linebacker for them. He had about 64 tackles for the Lions as a sophomore, 6'3", 220 pounds, has an offer from Marshall and Central Michigan already. So that's a big-time get for Patriot. And, they're going to need it competing up with these high-powered offenses in Gainesville and Battlefield. Having a kid like Canoe is pretty nice to have. So it'll be a fun season.
Did you mention, I may have missed it, Chris Umana, the DT?
Chris Umana, they do have him coming back. So again, Patriots, they're right there. They're going to be right in the thick of things. I would say, from a talent standpoint, they're a little bit behind some of the Lake Braddocks and the Battlefields, but they're not. It's not that far off. And them and Battlefield have a great rivalry that's going to carry on for the next 10+ years.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a quarterback, you got essentially probably Division I quarterback in Knutson at 6'5". He can throw it a country mile. You got a Division I, kind of versatile guy like Jackson McCarter. I mean, that's a coach's dream.
Yeah. I mean, they're a lot of fun to watch offensively. I mean, and with their schedule, I mean, there's a lot of must-see matchups too. And their rivalry against Battlefield, that'd be a game I'd have circled, just like last year, that could end up deciding the Cedar Run District.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. And well, I mean, speaking of that, let's do it. Let's get to the top dog, right? Top dog and
The top dog. Yep.
and maybe the favorite in the state. I mean, some people would say that. Now we talk about the monopoly money and going to the MGM and gambling some of this fake monopoly money. There are people out there that would put a lot of that monopoly money on Battlefield.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they lost one game last year, and it was in the region final.
That was the Freedom.
Against Freedom. I mean,
Right.
and everybody lost to Freedom last year, right? I mean, and it was a big loss. But to look at like their two playoff, they had to play a Patriot team. They had just got done playing, and then they had to play a really talented Mountain View team at the end. Other than that, I mean, it wasn't close. I mean, it was a lot of big wins all the way through them. But they are ultra talented, right? I mean, and we're talking about program wise, right? At this point, Battlefield is up there with the Madisons. At this point, Madisons, they're up there with the Westfields. They're up there with the Lake Braddocks. That's just where they are, right? They are the elite among the elites of the elite. They are the, you could argue, Prince William wise, they are the class of the county. Freedom's had a really good run for a last couple of years, but I think Battlefield has had I believe it was Mark Cox. Is that right? The longtime coach there. Yeah. He seems to have built a program that is just kind of it's a machine now at this point, and especially with the transfer rules of Prince William, where kids can go. We're school of choice now. I'm sure they'll tell you they're not transferring athletic rules because you can't do that. But if you have kids transferring in there, it's just rolling, and they are super talented. So I think Carl, you probably talk a lot about. I mean, I'm sure they have quite a few Power 5 guys just at their.
Oh yeah, and Battlefield. Yeah, I agree with what you guys say. I think with being the Olympic spirit, I think Freedom is passing the torch to Battlefield. How about that? We'll keep it in the spirit.
There you go.
Battlefield time. to take over. But guys, I told you this. They're one of the top teams in Northern Virginia. Everything I'm looking at and everything they have coming back, they're absolutely loaded this year. The time is now. I mean, in terms of big time prospects, you got to start with Cole Woodson, the Pittsburgh commit. He just committed on July 1st. He is 6'1", 195 pounds. He's a shutdown corner. 4.27 GPA, runs a 10.73 100-meter track, 100-meter dash, 10.73. The kid is all over the place. He is the definition of a lockdown corner. Callum O'Shea is back at quarterback, and this kid is good. I don't know if you guys have seen him sling the rock yet, but this kid can sling it with the best of them. And he took over early last year and took the bull by the horns. He wasn't, being the starting quarterback as a sophomore, but he's, kind of like Kilmer over at Gainesville. He's kind of taken over and run with it. So Callum O'Shea is one of the top-rated prospects in the entire class of 2026. Cameron Binkowski, he had, I believe, 20 sacks as a junior last year. He is committed to Army. He's 6'1", 235 pounds. If you know about the Binkowski family, his brother is playing. Brandon is playing at Villanova. Speaking of the Wildcats, right now, and Cameron, he had close to 20 plus FBS level offers. He is a force, and he is, not fun to block at 6'1", 235 pounds, and he had 20 sacks a year ago. They have Bryce Banning on the outside. He's a big-time prospect at receiver and free safety. Brandon Murray is going to be a Power 5 football player, either at corner or receiver. Sage Davis is a nice player at running back. Yeah, the talent is all over the roster. Hayden Lovelace is a kid they love at both defensive tackle and running back. He's 6'1", 270 pounds. They kind of use him as like a, how the Bears used to use the fridge. They use him like that, but he's a big-time defensive tackle prospect for the class of 2026. Yeah, the talent runs deep. I mean,
how about Jaden Blackstock? I like that guy.
So there's Jaden Juggernaut Johnson at running back, who is, a big time prospect for them, the 2026 class. There's Chaton Patterson. He's another kid who hasn't played a ton. He's going to play a lot as a senior at receiver and both corner. The list goes on. Coach's son, Luke Hatfield, he's on the offensive line, 6'4", 265 pounds. He's a big-time guard. Their junior class is particularly loaded. Their junior and senior class are ridiculous, but Sage Davis is the running back that, he's their senior and one of the league leaders in rushing yards last year. Sage Davis is their big-time running back.
Well, I like so Blackstock's a middle linebacker. He's I think he's a 26.
Oh, yeah. I found him.
You remember I mean, that family, that's a blue blood family right there. That's
absolutely.
Remember Daryl Blackstock, who's now a coach at William and Mary. And this one he looks every bit like Daryl Blackstock. I mean, he's just watching him on the field. He's an animal out there.
Yeah, they got Battlefield has stars on both sides of the ball, and they're building a great tradition out there. They're out of all the teams I've previewed so far. It's honestly, guys, a toss up between Lake Braddock, who's the top team. Again, this is just me looking at tape and what I saw last year. Nothing is being played, so like when this comes out and then all these players hear that, if they want to use it as motivation, cool. But I'm just saying what I see right now. Battlefield, like you guys said, is one of the top teams in the state.
Yeah, it's impressive. And, one thing that I didn't mention earlier, and I meant to say when we were talking Gainesville, but it's that greater area anyways. We got to give our credit to Gainesville Youth. The Gainesville Youth Club for sports has blown up. I mean, their football club is enormous. And I'm going to go ahead and assume that a lot of these kids are coming out of Gainesville Youth Club.
Yeah, if the numbers don't lie, I mean, when you're getting 100+ kids out for summer workouts, then that must be working, man.
Yeah, it's impressive. And Battlefield is one of those schools we talk about. So we talk about the crossover of lacrosse and like elite lacrosse programs, Madison, right? Schools like that. Battlefield's one of those. Battlefield's been an elite program in lacrosse. Coincidence, they're an elite program in football.
Yeah, I mean, it translates, right? The skill sets there translate between the two. So I think that you're always gonna have something that's gonna build into your football program. So football coaches, make sure you're good friends with your lacrosse coach, and lacrosse coach make good friends with your football coach, and see if you guys can get something working together. Don't work against each other. Be friends.
My father, Coach, so my father is a retired track and field coach. I played lacrosse myself growing up, but when he hears this podcast, because he'll listen, he's going to roll his eyes over that lacrosse comment.
There are many football coaches who will. They're going to say, there's damn lacrosse coaches wearing their flip flops and going out there and having.
No way!
But,
don't listen to them. Don't listen to them.
No. And they say that, and a lot of them say it in jest, right? Little, because they know. I mean, what we're saying is true. That crossover is there, absolutely.
Well, I think that multi-sport athletes can always help you out, right? Don't get me wrong. I mean, it hurts.
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
When kids don't show up to workouts, it does hurt. But if you have a kid who competes 365 a year, when he comes out for you, he's going to be ready to go. I mean, and you'll see a lot of times too. So I mean, I think we can talk a little bit about at Woodson. We had kids who played freshman football and then varsity lacrosse. And when they came out when they had to play as sophomores for varsity, it wasn't a shock for them.
Yeah.
So, but I think when you have them playing at that higher level, it's just going to make your program better.
Yeah. It's true.
All right, guys. Well, thank you again for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, but I can't let you go yet, Carl. I can't let you go. So real quick.
Oh, okay. What we got.
Yeah. So I missed it. So first of all, real quick. Just give me out of a Cardinal, give me a quick dark horse candidate and a favorite at a Cardinal real quick before we get to that.
Love it. So the favorite for the Cardinal District, I've got to go with Forest Park. My dark horse is the Colgan Sharks. I really believe Coach Scott is going to have them in the playoffs this year for the first time in school history.
I love it. I love that. That's a fantastic pick. All right, so before you go, we're going to get it right here. So give it to us for Cedar. Give us a dark horse, then give us a favorite.
I'll go with the favorite because that's, let's be real, that's easy. I'm going to go with Battlefield. And guys, I wrote it in my team preview. I really believe Gainesville is the second best team. I think they're the dark horse, not Patriot.
Okay. Okay, I like it. Leapfrogging. I like it.
I like what Coach Bruton's building out there. And it's, when you think about it, it's more impressive that he already had them in the playoffs in their second varsity season.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes a while. I mean, Colgan's only been around 7 years and they're close, but they haven't been there yet. So, Gainesville, I really like what they're building. I think they're the dark horse, to answer your question.
Nice. Well, I'm glad I said it last time. Last show, I was like, I got to get him. I forgot to ask him his dark horse and his favorite. So I'm glad we got that. Carl, once again, thanks for joining us, man. It's always great having you on here. We're going to continue to have you on throughout the season.
Oh, I can't wait, guys. I'm loving what you guys are doing. I said it last night too, and nothing but positive vibes, and working with my colleagues at Prep Red Zone and other companies. They're listening to it. So keep up the great work, guys. You guys are doing a great thing.
Hey, thanks, Carl.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Have a good night, man.
All right, gentlemen.
And that's Carl Frederick from Prep Red Zone. Always a great follow. Always promoting, our student athletes here in the Nova area. So keep an eye out for him on social media. He's all over the place. All over the place.
One of these days we got to see his face. He's like what was the guy's name on Home Improvement? He used to be on the other side of the fence.
Yeah, the neighbor.
Or or here I'm gonna show my age. Remember on Rhoda, the doorman you would never see on Rhoda.
Wow. Yeah, I mean you're pulling Rhoda out. Holy smokes.
I don't know if you noticed the gray in my beard. It's really weird how my beard did this. It actually did
I think that's common actually.
But it looks like I did it anyway. not that anybody's interested in my beard, which I'm sure I'm gonna shave pretty soon. I'm getting a little tired.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it's nice to have that beard in the summer, kind of just let it go and relax, not worry about anything. All right, well, tradition is tradition, and go ahead. You're gonna give us a dark horse.
So, Carl, picking out the Gainesville that went 8-3. That's not how I roll.
You're really snobby. You're real snobby about your dark horse picks.
You guys have sold me on Unity Reed.
Wow.
You sold me on Unity. I looked at their tradition. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe it was the aberration last year.
I would have sold. I sold you on it. Now Carl's got the inside scoop. He's our insider, and he talked about some key guys leaving. But I like the tradition at Unity Reed. I think it's a solid pick. I think it's a solid pick.
That's my dark horse. What do you got?
All right. I've been thinking about this, kind of mulling it over here, and I was counting up the Monopoly money, kind of seeing what I got, and because I'm going to put all orange $500 bills, right? Isn't that the orange $500 bills at Monopoly? I'm going to put those. I don't want to go with the big three right now. Not in the dark horse. That's not fun. All right. So I am going to go with Osbourn. Now talk about a sell job. He sold me on Osbourn.
Yeah.
Carl was very high on Osbourn.
Yeah, he said he's buying him big time.
Right. He said he's buying him big time. He's the big he's our insider, right? Carl is Nova's Adam Schefter. Okay. And he sold me on it. I'm buying, I'm taking the entire Monopoly box, right? And I might take a couple bucks for myself. I'm gonna put the rest on Osbourn as my dark horse pick. All right. Yeah. Who's your favorite? Go ahead, give it to us.
So
you're trying to be risque. You know what the pick is.
I know I want to pick Battlefield. But you know what? I'm gonna pick Gainesville.
Wow, there it is.
I'm gonna take Gainesville as my favorite. I mean, one, because they're getting that running back.
Yeah.
Right? They're getting that running back. I think this is all their first senior year, right? Because this is year 1, 2, the second one was last year. This is year 3. I believe this is their all first senior year.
Yeah.
So you know what? Give me Gainesville. Give me Gainesville. You know what? Either we're eating filet mignon and lobster at home, or we are going to be living in our car. But we're going with Gainesville.
Look, it's a solid pick. Can't go wrong with it. I'm going to go Battlefield. I mean, it pays the least, obviously, of those picks, but just the names you rattled off and all of the Power 5 guys. I mean, just it's endless. I think that this is their shot. I think their shot can be any year because they just reload. But I really feel like, the way the season ended last year, Freedom's kind of gone now. That's out of the way.
Well, I think Freedom's eliminating them for the last 3 years. Actually, I can actually run that up for you. So let's look at this.
Go to the Google machine, see what you can find.
I will go to the Google machine. Oh, I'm sorry. Year before they lost to Colonial Forge.
Now, I mean, the thing about Gainesville, you do have that, possible Division I quarterback at Gainesville, Patriot too. That, makes it enticing, right? Because, I mean, a good quarterback obviously goes a long way. Yeah. But, Battlefield, not saying they don't have a good quarterback at all. I didn't hear the quarterback's name mentioned among the Power 5 prospects that he was talking about. And that could be an edge right there for the other two teams, for Gainesville. So it's a good pick. I'm going to go Battlefield. You're going Gainesville, but you can't go wrong really with anyone in that conference. No.
I mean, excellent conference, and it's part of that region. Someone's got to fill the Freedom vacuum. But who knows? Maybe the Freedom Eagles will surprise everybody and shock the world.
Yeah. You never know.
They'll bring in Lucy to hit the 50-yard field goal in the rain.
That's it. You never know, buddy. Now, let me say, it's been fun. We've covered the entire 6A in Northern Virginia, and our definition, at least, of Northern Virginia, which is everything from Alexandria and Arlington all the way across to the stretches of Prince William.
Yeah, it's been fun covering it. I'm curious, and I mean, if you've gotten to this point of the podcast, when was the last time someone did a comprehensive coverage of these three regions?
Wow.
I'm curious when the last time that was done. Of course, no one's gotten to this point in the podcast. At this point, we're just talking like we normally do.
Right.
But I'm curious if out there could tell me when the last time somebody did a comprehensive look at these regions. I'm willing to bet it's probably been a minute.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it has. And up next now, or as this is going to air, will be the scrimmages.
Scrimmages, yeah.
And we're going to attend a couple scrimmages. You're hoping to hit a couple nearby. I'm hoping to hit a couple nearby. I'm just hoping that rain doesn't mess things up. Heat advisories doesn't mess things up. This time of year, right? Mid-August, get a lot of that.
And they said it's supposed to be abnormally wet for this part.
Yeah, there's some the remnants of some storms coming through and all that kind of stuff. So just knock on wood that mid-August doesn't get washed out and kind of ruined by lightning storms and that kind of thing. Because I'm looking forward to some of these scrimmages, and Carl's going to be out. Matter of fact, we'll try and get Carl after that Madison Battlefield scrimmage, and try and see what Carl thinks about that, what he saw in that one.
And I do think we may have the head coach at George Mason's club team lined up before the season. We'll talk to him a little there and give some of our Northern Virginia listeners a listen about the only football game in town post high school here in the Northern Virginia area. No,
it's true. I mean, if that is a future show that we're going to have. We're going to have him on, and anybody who who loves football, wants to watch football on a Saturday live, and doesn't want to go, you can go to Maryland.
Yeah.
Right. But this is not a Maryland show. This is not the Maryland podcast. The Nova football podcast. And if you want to watch collegiate football, any kind of collegiate football.
And local kids. Right. And local kids, right?
Local kids. You could take your kids, right? Yeah. Watch a little football. And I'll say this, and we'll get into this, but the kids playing, club football, at some of these schools throughout the nation, not just at George Mason, but there are kids who could have played football.
Yeah.
I mean, I've met some of the kids on the roster here over the last couple of years from a variety of different high schools in our area, and they were kids who could have gone, Division II, Division III football. I mean, so it's quality football.
Yeah.
And fun for the family.
Fun, and my guess is probably it's free, right?
And a 10-minute drive, 8-minute drive,
a 10-minute drive, and then you can go to your local favorite food establishment. You go to the diner? Was it the 50 diner?
No, don't say that. That place is closed. You were gonna say 29 diner, right? It's
29 diner.
It's closed. It's done. It's done. But you could stop by Fuddruckers. Fuddruckers is closed. All the key spots are all closed. So you can look for Roy Rogers to get built, and you can go there. You
go to Santini's, get yourself a calzone.
Santini's. Well, maybe reach out to Santini's. Maybe they'll be sponsoring us soon.
Yeah, Santini's would love to have you as a sponsor. And all you gotta do is give us a coupon for a free meal a week.
Free meal and some curly fries, and I'm a cheap day. A cheap day.
Yeah.
Well, it's been fun.
It has been fun. And now we can start talking about things coming to fruition, right?
Right. Start talking about games. Talking
about games.
Right.
Yeah. Hopefully everyone's ready to take this ride with us. It looks like we have quite a few. Those of you guys who are still with us, subscribe. Come on, why can't you subscribe? We're a nice podcast. Just subscribe to the podcast. We're a nice podcast.
Are you doing the Hurley Heat Kid?
I am.
You're the Hurley Heat Kid. Please subscribe to the podcast. He's a damn nice kid. Subscribe to the podcast. It's been fun, guys.
Yeah.
All Hitches, Nova Football Podcast. We'll see you guys next time.
Your favorite play.
That's it. See you later, guys.
See you guys.